Welcome to the Deep Dive. We take complex information, break it down, and get to the heart of what matters. Today, we've got a really quite startling set of sources detailing what's described as a hidden system, one that allegedly impacted, well, countless veterans for decades. So our mission here is to understand these secret codes, their supposed effects, and the pretty serious claims of systemic fraud described in this material.
Yeah, it's fascinating, really, how something seemingly so minor, just a code number on a form, could allegedly have such, well, devastating consequences. We're talking, according to these sources, impacts on jobs, healthcare, just basic stability after service. So this deep dive, it's going to unpack how these codes were said to work and, importantly, why this story matters.
Okay, let's get into it. The sources talk about these secret code numbers, first called SPN numbers apparently, and then later they were renamed SPD codes, Separation Program Designator codes. And these were put allegedly right onto veterans' DD-214 forms. That's the big discharge document, right?
Exactly. The DD-214 is supposed to be the comprehensive record, which begs the question, what were these codes originally for? And how did they supposedly start causing so much harm? The material suggests they were just, quote, given out like candy, even, and this is pretty shocking, to highly decorated people. They mentioned Sergeant Roy Ben Bonnets, a Medal of Honor recipient from Vietnam, who apparently felt, quote, stabbed in the back by getting one.
Wow, a Medal of Honor winner.
So what was the alleged outcome? What did these codes do? The sources are blunt. They claim these numbers were used to, quote, blacklist us from jobs, bank loans, life insurance, and benefits. And here's a really disturbing part. The regulations cited actually said veterans would not be told about these codes. They wouldn't even know.
Which creates this paradox, right? You've got veterans with honorable discharges, medals, the works. But this hidden code, allegedly, just trumped everything. Employers, it's claimed, didn't really look at the honorable discharge. They, quote, just looked at that number. And this wasn't theoretical. The sources actually name big companies, Goodyear, Boeing, Honeywell, and claim they admitted having lists to interpret these codes. So you could have, incredible qualifications, right? Top engineering skills, war experience. But if you had one of these bad code numbers, the claim is you were basically, quote, never going to get a job there.
And the real-world fallout described is just, well, immense. The sources point to Vietnam veterans specifically, saying they lead the nation in homelessness, underemployment, unemployment. And a major reason cited is that, quote, 8 out of 10 of them would have a derogatory code number. It really paints a picture of how, a bureaucratic mechanism could allegedly lead to widespread hardship.
Yeah, one source describes it almost like getting a university diploma, but secretly there's a note attached that just invalidates the whole thing. It's called fraud, basically. Okay, so let's shift gears a bit. How did this allegedly play out with the VA, getting essential benefits, healthcare? The sources say veterans with these bad codes were, again, blacklisted, blocked from bank loans, partly because life insurance was also allegedly affected, and, maybe even worse, facing huge delays or just flat-out denials for medical care at the VA.
The healthcare access part is deeply concerning. The claim is veterans with these codes got pushed to the bottom of the list, or they were told, come back in a year for an appointment. There's even a study mentioned that claims it took an average of 30 days to see a regular doctor, up to a year for a specialist. And tragically, it says 20% die before they even get to see the specialist. The human cost, if true, is just staggering.
It really is. But okay, beyond the personal impact, the sources then dig into why. What's the alleged root cause? They point squarely at systemic fraud. The claim is, a vet submits a claim, the VA computers needing these codes for eligibility deny the real veteran. But then, allegedly, the system takes that veteran's claim number and attaches it to a phony name, a ghost name.
Right, which immediately makes you ask, okay, so where's the money going? And the sources allege, quote, this phony is getting the money, a straight-up rip-off of these funds. The scale they're talking about is, well, it's hard to fathom. Estimates of 400 to 500 million a month, going on for 40 plus 50 years. They even mention a backlog at one point of 400,000 claims. It suggests just a massive ongoing operation.
Okay, but how does something like this, supposedly so widespread and secret, eventually start to, come out? Well, the sources say these code numbers actually popped up somewhere pretty unexpected during Senator Sam Ervin's Watergate Committee investigation, specifically when they were looking into how Nixon's re-election committee, CREEP, was getting its funding.
Interesting connection. So during those Watergate-era investigations, 1973-75 roughly, the Department of Defense, the DoD, actually testified they would stop the SPN code system. That's what they told Congress. But the sources alleged this was just, quote, legal ease trick, deception. They claimed the DoD essentially perjured themselves because they just renamed the system. SPN became SPD Separation Program Designator. The analogy used is like just swapping a Chevy logo for a vehicle logo on the exact same car. The underlying system allegedly didn't change.
Wow. So just a name change. Okay, so what's the takeaway for people listening now? For veterans today? Is this just history? The material is very clear. This is not an old problem. This is going on today. That's the claim. It's described as a kind of three-card Monty, that shell game between the VA, the DoD, and corporate America, where these codes, quote, like a virus, like a cancer, have been distributed all over corporate America, still having an impact.
Yeah, this whole deep dive really exposes the alleged power of these hidden codes, from blocking jobs to potentially diverting billions in benefits away from those who earn them. It really highlights how crucial it is to look closely at these bureaucratic systems, however technical they seem. They can have profound real-world effects.
Absolutely. The idea that just a number on a form could allegedly undermine an honorable discharge, facilitate this massive amount of money being stolen, and leave veterans potentially facing homelessness or lack of care. It's a really powerful and frankly sobering thought. It definitely makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other systems, maybe hiding in plain sight, might be affecting people's lives right now completely without their knowledge?